Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Thursday, July the 3rd, 2025, and it's a very eerie morning. It's about just after 7, about 7:15. Actually, it might be closer to 7:30 at the moment, but it's been raining all night. It's very foggy at the moment. You probably can't see it too much in the camera, but yeah, it's very eerie this morning. And not so bad weather-wise, like as far as warmth goes. It's been colder, but yeah, just one of those mornings, and it's just beautiful around here because there's so many trees, and it's like we're in the middle of a forest here. So it's yeah, just beautiful. Last night on the show on the channel, we did Aussies versus Aussies in the Dream Fights. So I'll get to the results in a second. But one thing, speaking of Aussies, I was reminded about numerous times yesterday. On this day, I forgot. Well, I didn't forget. It was a bit of an oversight that yesterday was the day that Jeff Horn created probably the biggest upset in boxing history, Australian boxing history that is, by beating the great Manny Pacquiao. Yes, July 2nd, Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. I was there on the day, took my family up there, took the opportunity to have a few days up in Queensland in the middle of our winter down here. And what was that, 2017? So my boys would have been quite young. They enjoyed it, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. Had the big fight feels because it was during the day. Obviously, it was going back to the States. No one gave Jeff Horn a chance, including me. I'd seen Jeff fight a few times. I've been actually to a couple of his fights up in Queensland because at that point I just met Dean Lonergan from D&L. It was Duco back then, and I started my promotional sort of foray, I suppose, and I got to know Dean, and so I'd been to a couple of Jeff's fights, and I went to the fight. I think Shannon O'Connell fought on the undercard. She fought a girl from Hungary, I think, and Jeff fought in the main event against Rico, I think, might have been from Germany. And I remember thinking, yeah, this guy he's good. He's got some talent. But Manny Pacquiao, are you kidding me? I mean, this is at the point. I mean, Manny was, geez, I was going to say it 8 years ago, a little bit past it. Then he's about to fight for another world title, but. So what would he have been in 30, what was it, 8 years ago? So it would have been 38 then. So yeah, no one gave him a chance. And I was more amazed at the fact that Dean actually got it done. Not just Dean, but Duco as a whole. He had a partner as well. I could not believe that they had pulled it off. They'd gotten millions and millions of dollars out of the Queensland government to bring Manny Pacquiao to Australia, and it was a coup that I don't think will be repeated in the short term, unless maybe Tim Tszyu fights Canelo or somewhere over here. I don't know, but that's the sort of magnitude it was. Even though Manny at that point was 2 years past losing to Floyd Mayweather, and what was he? I think he just come off. What was it? 2016. I think he might have beaten. Who did he beat? I know it was Bradley in there. Was one of them. I can't remember. But anyway, but he was back. It was for the WBO world title, and it was a beautiful day up in Queensland. It was actually quite hot, and I remember the undercard was ordinary, I thought, but just the whole week, I remember. Every day I'd go to the hotel where everyone was staying. We was staying a little bit out of town, across from the river there, but every day I'd get a lift into town. I would go to the hotel. I can't remember the name of it, but all the fighters and officials and all that, journalists and all that were staying there, and we'd just sit in the foyer. This is probably about 4 days out from the fight. And I'd sit there pretty much all day. Sorry, family, you go do your own thing. It's boxing week, and that's what it was. And to be fair, my family knew exactly why we were there, so they did some other stuff, and they knew I was there for the boxing, so they were pretty understanding. But we took a couple of friends up as well who they hung out with. But I would hang out at the hotel and just sit there all day. And over here, you'd have the great, the Colonel Bob Sheridan, the announcer over here. You have Teddy Atlas, and then over there you got Barry Michael having a coffee with someone, and Jeff Fennick and Timothy Bradley, and we just sit there, and you'd sort of move from table to table and sort of integrate yourself into different groups and just talk boxing all day. That's what it was, and that's what's good about when you go to a place, especially somewhere like a Vegas, because everyone's sort of together as a whole. Everyone just hangs out all day, and no matter where you go, you get to meet different people. That's why, as I said, with Vegas, you might go to the MGM Grand, and you just see all the different people and officials and fighters and trainers and you name it, just around the hotel. But that was sort of our version of it that week for that fight. Berto Duran was there, and I remember seeing George Kambosos, and just everyone was there anyway. And mingling in the foyer. Everyone was doing interviews, and it was just one of those just gatherings. It was just perfect storm of just hype and excitement, and they made Jeff work pretty hard for it that week. I remember every function or event or whatever it was, press conference, no matter what it was, Jeff was there. And I remember thinking, this guy's got so much on his plate, but he fronted up every single one. Manny didn't. Manny only picked and chose the ones he wanted to go to. But actually, I remember even with his team, I went to, I think the late Stuart Duncan organised. He was a matchmaker for Duco, and I got quite friendly with Stuart. And he said, come on, we're going to go for lunch. And he took me for lunch because he knew we were just starting to do a little bit together promotional-wise. And he said, come on, we'll go to lunch. And we actually went to lunch with Jim Kambosos and Justin Fortune, who was out here, the Aussie out here training, or helping train Manny Pacquiao. And there's a few others. There's probably about a dozen of us. We went to lunch. I'm sitting there wide-eyed thinking, wow, this is the who's who of, what's happening in Australian boxing at the moment. And I just sort of sat there and listened and didn't sort of say too much. I was sort of more just taking it all in. And I remember Justin Fortune, something come up about, so what sort of chance do you give Jeff? And I remember him literally saying, mate, the only way Horn wins this fight is if Manny trips and breaks his leg on the way up to the ring. And he said, mate, we're a little bit worried he might knock him out accidentally too early. He just might let one go and Horn will walk into it and they'll knock him out. That's a true story. So I don't think, to be fair, Manny would be thinking that. Maybe not Freddie Roach to that extent, but I have no doubt that Freddie's always business. I met him up there as well. I met him a couple of times at the Wild Card, but I've spoken to him when he was there, and he was just Freddie. He just goes about the business. He gets his fighters prepared, turns up and tries to get the best performance out of him. So he was just Freddie. And Manny, I've got no doubt, had no idea who Jeff Horn was. He had no idea. It was smiles. I remember I met him, shook his hand and everything. It was really good to see Manny, and he was just a really jovial type of guy, and he really gave his time to the fans, Filipino fans everywhere, by the way, which was great, really added to the event. And I got no doubt that he just turned up and expected just to get an easy payday on the road to those bigger fights. But history would show that it wasn't the case. And I remember watching the fight, like everyone else in those first 6 rounds, thinking, is it just me, or is Jeff Horn's actually doing pretty well here? I expected, I won't say one-sided, because, in a world title fight it's very rarely is it totally one-sided. The challenger gives something. And I thought Jeff, being an Aussie and we always show up, he would, he'd give a good account of himself. But I didn't expect him to win. But after 6 rounds, I said to my wife, Tara, she said, well, who do you think's winning? Because even she could say, I reckon Jeff Horn's winning this fight. I could not believe it. And it got to the 7th and 8th, and Manny started to pick it up a little bit in the 7th and 8th. And then in that 9th round, we all remember that. And I thought Jeff was gone. I thought, oh, what an effort from Jeff. But I think Manny's decided to kick it into 4th gear, and this might be it. But to Jeff's credit, and actually we were in the stand, so it was really hard to see the exact magnitude of the shots, what effect they were having. But when I'm watching on the replay, you could see that he was under a little bit of duress, but I don't think at any time he was actually hurt, like really in danger of going down. If anything, it would have been just by exhaustion. But he didn't really get hit with a lot of shots. Manny really poured it on. The crowd was going nuts, and Jeff showed so much heart to hang in there. And to his credit, after the 9th round, when the referee wanted to stop the fight, can you believe that? He pretty much won out of those first 9 rounds, in my opinion, probably 6 or 7 of those first 8 or 9 rounds. But he wanted to stop the fight. But then, to Jeff's credit, I thought he came home and won 2 of the last 3 rounds at least, and I thought he pulled it out. Now, I'm not going to get into all the arguments, but my personal opinion is that Jeff Horn won the fight. It was close. Yes, he was busted up, but that should have no effect on who actually won the fight. The facts of the matter are, I thought he out-muscled Manny early. I thought he won those first 6 rounds at least 5, I thought, of the first 6. Could have even won all 6, in my opinion. Manny just didn't turn up. That's not Jeff's fault. Manny just went through the motions and did pay the price. He picked it up, but again, as I said, I thought Jeff closed the show beautifully. After that 9th round, he showed so much heart and grit. And I thought he won the fight 7 rounds to 5. So that was my thoughts on it all. But just when they announced the decision and Jeff went up in the air, it was one of the greatest moments in Australian boxing history. And surprisingly, 4 years later, it will sort of be repeated, not to that magnitude, in my opinion, when George Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez, but it brought back memories of Jeff Harding beating Dennis Andrews as well, Lester Ellis beating One Kill You, although One Kill You certainly wasn't the calibre of Lopez or more Manny, but just the emotion and everything it was. And when Jeff beats him up, Jeff Fennick beats him up by Akaroon, they're probably the big moments, I think, in Australian boxing history. We've had some other great wins, of course, but they're the ones that really stick with me. But what a day it was. So I apologise to everyone that messaged me yesterday, and I think it was a Big J last night commented on the thing. How could I forget that? But just sometimes it came up on my feed about 2 hours after I'd finished recording. So it is what it is. I knew something had happened around that time. No doubt I'll forget it, but that's why I've got you guys and girls out there to remind me, haven't I? So anyway, all right, so last night we did the Aussies versus Aussies dream fights. Jeff Horn wasn't actually featured. I didn't really have a match up for him. What I did was pick the 10 current pound for pound best Aussie fighters, and I'll quickly just go through them who I had. At number 10, this is just, I know it's arguable, you're going to have your own opinion, that's fine. This is just my list. I had Michael Zarafa at number 10, Liam Wilson at number 9, George Kambosos at number 8, Andrew Maloney at 7, Justice Huni at 6, Sam Goodman at 5. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. So Zarafa at 10, Wilson at 9, Kambosos at 8, Maloney at 7, Huni at 6, Sam Goodman at 5, Jason Maloney at 4, Liam Paro at 3, Tim Tszyu at 2, and Jai Pataya at number 1. So just quickly on the results. Where are we? So Michael Zarafa was up against Daniel Geale. Daniel Geale won 79% of the vote. Where else do we have? I'm just going to stop here so I can see them there. Liam Wilson was against Lester Ellis. Lester Ellis with 83% of the vote. We had, who was the other one? George Kambosos. So I said we had him up against Michael Katsidis, and 83% went for Michael Katsidis to beat George Kambosos. We had, I'll just roll these out, I think. Andrew Maloney against Jimmy Carruthers. 53% went for Jimmy Carruthers. There was Justice Huni. We put him in against the big fella, Jimmy Thunder. Bit of a technicality there. Jimmy Thunder was technically a Kiwi, but he based himself here for his career. Anyway, but 71% went for Justice Huni. Just on those, sorry, by the way, I went for Geale to beat Zarafa. I went for Andrew Maloney to beat Carruthers. I went for Thunder to beat Huni. I went for Lester Ellis to beat Liam Wilson. And I went for George Kambosos in a close one over Michael Katsidis. Who else do we have there? Was it Sam Goodman, I think was the other one. Where are you, Sam? If I can find you here, there he is. Against Johnny Famechon. 82% went for Famechon. Of course, I went for Famo as well. What were the other ones there? Jason Maloney against Lionel Rose. Now, I did go for Lionel Rose in this one. 94% went for Lionel Rose as well. Probably no surprise there. I had, what was the other one? Liam Paro, Barry Michael. Now, I had a couple of people say, why was Barry Michael fighting at 140 while he had about 10 fights at 140 and only went down to 130 to fight Lester? for that belt, and before that was sort of 135 to 140. So I picked him, and I needed a match up for him anyway, so I've gone for Liam Paro. Liam Paro in a close one. What did I say? The chat or the comments were 56% for Liam Paro in that one. And then the last couple, Tim Tszyu against Troy Waters. 67% went for Tim Tszyu. I agreed. And in the last fight, this is another controversial one, Jai Pataya and Danny Green. 100% went for Jai Pataya. And again, people saying, why is it Danny Green in at cruiserweight? He had his last 13 fights, or 12 or 13 fights, I think it was, at cruiserweight, including a world title fight against the Polish guy, and fought Antonio Tarver at cruiserweight as well. So I had to have someone for Jai Pataya, didn't I? So I had to throw him in there. I think that was everyone anyway. Apologies if I've missed someone, but that was it there. All right, what else is going on? Nikita Tszyu back August 20th. Not sure who he's going to fight. Good to see that his hand has come good, and he's been punching apparently for the last sort of month or two. So great to see Nikita Tszyu back. Just had his little baby girl this week. What was a Curiosity was her name. So again, congratulations to the Tszyus, and great to have Nikita back. He's such a character and can fight. So this is apparently the card where he'll be back. And then I think by all accounts, Michael Zarafa is on that card. Shannon O'Connell, I think, might be on that card as well. I know they were talking about a couple, but anyway, they should be back. All those guys should be back on that card. And hopefully we will get Nikita Tszyu versus Michael Zarafa in December. We'll see. Another Aussie / Irishman, Connor Wallace. Now, just putting connecting all the dots here. This morning or overnight, it was announced that the IBF has announced that Dimitri Bivol must fight is mandatory, which is Michael, is it Eifert, I think his name is, the German, must fight him next. Now, the IBF don't muck around, as we've found out, and Bivol is apparently locked into that better be rematch. So the IBF looks like they could follow suit with the WBC and strip Dimitri Bivol. The WBC, of course, did it because of Benavides, handed the belt to David Benavides, and the IBF have said that if he doesn't defend that IBF belt against Michael Eifert, that they will strip him of the IBF belt. So what that means is that Connor Wallace is number 2 in the rankings behind Michael Eifert. He will fight Eifert for, I hope I pronounced that right, by the way. He will fight Eifert for the vacant IBF belt if the IBF does in fact strip Dimitri Bivol. So massive news there. And I know again that Connor Wallace is he's an Irishman living in Australia, but we'll adopt him for now anyway, and hopefully we'll have another Aussie in a big fight this year. I'm sure there'll be something said by Tasman Fighters and Mick Francis and the team at some point once it becomes a little clearer. So looking forward to seeing Connor Wallace get his shot. He's been very, very patient. He's been winning. He's been active, and sometimes probably just like Sam Goodman, he's got his shot with Nick Ball coming up in a couple, or is it next month, I think it is. Sometimes you've just got to hang in there and keep active, keep winning, and your shot will come. And that's what I'm glad with Sam Goodman, but I'm also glad for, or happy for Connor Wallace, if that is the case as well. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Tyson Fury. Looks like he's coming back, ladies and gentlemen. He has been interviewed overseas for the IBA event, International Boxing Association. It's a weird sort of organisation. They do amateur pros. They're looking to be a sanctioning body. I'm not quite sure, but it's whatever they are. They look sort of oversee the amateurs and they're going to get involved in pros, whatever. But he's over there doing some functional or something for them. And he was interviewed and said he's open to coming back. Turki Al-Sheikh also commented and said he will be back in 2026. Now, Tyson said he would obviously definitely like to come back and fight Anthony Joshua, but at this stage would really only be interested in fighting Usyk a third time. I don't think that happens. I don't think Alexander Usyk will fight Tyson Fury a third time. I really don't. I think he's going to probably want a fresh challenge. He's been there, done that. I think if he beats Dubois for a second time, I don't think he'll retire. I think he'll probably have another 1, maybe 2 fights, Usyk. but you probably find he will fight maybe a Joseph Parker, and you can't blame him for wanting a new challenge. He would have beaten Fury, Joshua, and Dubois all twice each, which is just amazing. So if he can do that, yeah, as I said, I think he would maybe fight a Joseph Parker. And who knows, maybe he might take a fresh challenge like a Jai Pattaya or someone like that. I don't know, but yeah, I would think that fight is not on the table. But Tyson Fury said that, and this is probably the biggest hint towards maybe it could be Anthony Joshua at some stage, that he's always thought it would be an absolute travesty to the sport and the British fans if his fight with Joshua never took place. His one stipulation was that if it did take place, it would have to be in England in front of 100,000 people, which is a given. And the fact that Turki Al-Sheikh has said, yes, the Gypsy King will be back in 2026, goes to show that maybe, you know, things are sort of moving in the background there. And Fury does look in pretty good nick at the moment. He reckons he's been training twice a day, just enjoying life at the moment. So I think the fact that he is looking in okay shape shows that he's coming back. I think hasn't really been Tyson's strong point in the past, has it, about keeping in shape, but the fact he looks pretty good, you never know. But look, the other thing I think that could happen, if Dubois happens to upset Usyk, don't be surprised if Fury is suddenly back and getting very lippy with Daniel Dubois wanting that fight. That's just my gut feeling. If Usyk wins, I think Fury will try and get a rematch, but as I said, I don't think it'll happen. That's when I think he goes for Joshua. If Dubois wins, the Gypsy King, make no mistake, will be back and at his best, I think, with all his social media posts and everything, trying to get Dubois into a fight. And I think Dubois would happily take that fight. I mean, it's another massive, massive payday for him. Probably bigger than the Joshua fight for him, really, and bigger than Usyk as well, fighting Tyson Fury. So plenty to play out there, but I'm hoping he comes back. I just think he would really regret it if he didn't. I know it was a sour loss for him against Usyk. He reckons he won by 5 rounds. I don't know how he gets to that point. I thought Usyk actually won the fight very clearly, the second one. I thought the first one was close, but I thought Usyk won the second one clearly. But Tyson obviously doesn't feel the same way. So plenty to play out there for Tyson Fury. And Anthony Joshua, I mean, what Tyson Fury does has a massive bearing on what Joshua does as well. He's probably waiting to see what Joshua's probably waiting to see what Fury is going to do before he sort of announces what he's up to. He wants to fight at the end of the year. I think what's going to happen is we're all waiting to see what happens in the Usyk and Dubois fight. Once the result of that is known, I reckon you might see a few of the other dominoes start to fall into place. So we will see. When's that? Only, what, a couple of weeks away. So once that happens, as I said, I think all the dominoes will fall. So anyway, that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope the day clears up a little bit here. I've got to drive to Bendigo today, so hopefully the roads are nice and clear. So guys, have a great Thursday, and we will catch you tomorrow.